Good evening, everybody. Welcome to round 3 of the Prime Meridian Racing League. It is the Vopsy.com race of Germany here at the Nürburgring. Having a few technical difficulties still. I am really trying my hardest to get on top of those. I really don't know what's going on, but Windows decided to update my PC last night and somehow it messed everything up. So, getting kind of nervous here myself. I'm trying to get trading paints up as well to show all these liveries. Gonna try to make the most of it as we go for now. I do have SDK Gaming open myself, but the overlays are not showing up just yet. So I'm gonna keep trying to get these up, but please bear with me for those. Yeah, so I really apologize about that. Really don't know what's going on, but at least we got trading paints up, it seems, with Will Lyons livery right up there as well as a few others. So that's a start. Hopefully we can get SDK up, because that's kind of the most crucial part of the broadcasting here. So yeah, once again, my apologies. Don't really know what's going on with the PC, but at least we are live, which is the most important thing. So whilst we are waiting, I guess, for everything to start working, let's go quickly over the schedule for this season. Of course, last week we had Iowa Speedway, which was pretty much dominated by Alexis Newsom. Will Lyon won at Barber 2 weeks ago. So tonight we have the Nürburgring. Next week we go to Indianapolis, the first of 3 Triple Crown rounds. Then we go to Detroit Belle Isle before a week off until we return to Silverstone. Then the second Triple Crown race at Untitled Speedway. Then Watkins Glen and Pocono and Laguna Seca. So those are the races ahead for this league. And looking at the Drivers' Championship standings, Will Lyon, I believe 11 points clear of David Saranzo. It's a small preview screen I'm looking at. So, but David Saranzo in second place. Very nice for him to be there, right at the top of the championship standings. So is Henry Bennett, by the way, with a nice run last week too. Jesper Orman with that undercut on Henry Bennett last week to finish on the podium is in the 4th position. Then we have Erika Lindström, who rounds off the top 5 in the Drivers' Championship standings. So looking at the teams, India Alliance Racing leads it by 17 points over SMS Racing, which is the first time since the back end of season 1 that SMS didn't lead the team's championship standings. NSH Racing Team sits in the 3rd position, just 16 back from SMS as well, so the team's very close at the top. And actually, let's move Power Slide in that frame as well, just 4 points behind NSH. So, interesting team's championship battle heating up. As I continue to try to get SDK back up. So currently the fastest lap time in qualifying is set by Will Lyon, 137.33, which is about 1.5 tenths clear of Alex Salmon, who sits in the 2nd position. So doing a good job there, Alex is. To split the SMS guys with Matthew Levine, Daniel Dinsdale in the 3rd and 4th positions, with Shane Burke, who I believe is a new driver, running off the top 5. How about I remove the SDK scene and just re-add it? Maybe that works. It's really weird because sometimes it just doesn't work. SDK is always phenomenal, but sometimes it's really strange. And I have no clue what it's doing. Just like now. We got sound. That's good. There we go. We got it up. Right? Yes, we did. Not ideal on this page at least, but as you can see, the Nürburgring track layout is the full Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit, which is 5.0 kilometers in length. The track temperature right now is 34 degrees. It is 690 meters above sea level, so it's not very high up there, but It's got plenty of elevation changes too, so it's gonna really spice up the action tonight. But I'm so glad we got these graphics back up. So let's go over the qualifying results as they come in just a moment. Just qualifying wrapping up at the moment. Once again, my apologies for really this mess. It really is a mess. So it's not much I can really do apart from getting on the PC earlier, but I can't really expect when the PC randomly decides to update. So yeah, my apologies once again. We should have everything ready to use for tonight. So here we go. It's Will Lyon on the pole position with Alex Selman with a very impressive qualifying result in the second position. Matthew Levine and Daniel Dinsdale on the second row for SMS Racing as well. We got Shane Burke and David Saranza on the third row. Sam Blackwood and Sherwin van der Sloot, I think is how you pronounce his name, in the 8th position. He's making his first appearance in the series. We've got Alan Rosell and Connie Nathan on row 5. Taylor Mills and Matthias Krauss in the 6th row. There is Ike and Sam Moe on row 7. Jasper Orman and Anna Jorfi on row 8. With Connor Pearson and Paul Morgan rounding off the grid. As we're going to mute these people very quickly. As we have cars out on track for the warm-up session, so don't be alarmed just yet. We have a few more minutes.
And good evening always.
So Jessica gonna do the driver's briefing really quickly for the drivers. Alright, here we go. We finally have everything ready. So warm-up session, 5 minutes for the drivers to really work on the race car for their final adjustments. Going into the race tonight, of course, it is going to be an interesting race. The Indycars usually don't really run here, so I'm quite curious to see how these cars are going to handle. Of course, a fixed setup provided by the league, but not many numbers known for this car around this track. So fuel mileage for me is an unknown. So is the tire wear. I did see that the conditions are pretty cool, so the Reds might be able to hang on just a little bit longer than you might be used to. But I really can't say enough how sorry I am for being a little bit unprepared, to say the least, because of those Windows updates. But glad to have you all with us. We have 8 viewers in chat, so welcome everybody. Worked on a few stream settings to hopefully reduce the buffering from last week at Iowa. So you might see a very minimal decrease in overall stream quality in terms of imaging, but it should fix all the buffering issues. So I did test it last night. It seemed to work then, so I'm kind of praying that it does now as well. Of course, if this goes well tonight, I'm gonna bump up the bitrate again some more next week to try and improve that quality back to what it was last week. But the main focus right now is getting rid of those buffering issues. As we pick up Matthew Levine, his livery is still loading. But he is, of course, part of the SMS Racing team. That didn't really have the best start to the season, that has to be said. The first race at Barber, of course, had that one collision with Will Lyon and Daniel Dinsdale involving Andreas Ike as well. So that wasn't a great start. Of course, the race was still won by Will Lyon, but it could have been, perhaps should have been a 1-2 finish for them, when it really wasn't. As most of, if not everybody, knows by now. Then last week at Iowa, the oval's not really the backyard, let's say, of the SMS Racing team, so they kind of lost a little bit of ground there. Of course, Will Lyon did get a very solid result in there as well, so kind of minimize the damage. So the driver currently fastest in warm-up by a full second is Matthias Krauss, and I'm pronouncing that with my best German impression. Germany isn't far from me actually, it's about 5-10 minutes away by car, so the border that is. As warm-up is now complete as well, so we will go over the starting grid one more time very shortly. Before we do that, actually, let's quickly mention the iRacing page. iRacing on Instagram. This slideshow has actually selected the wrong one. That's a great start. Perfect. Oh my goodness, what's going on today? Here's the slideshow. So yeah, you can all see these paints, and this is, I believe, for the Power Slide team, if my preview is showing all the correct stuff. Prema Esport, I believe this is a GT3 car, and also got some of the touring car stuff, so very nice looking, of course. Check it out, Vopsy lowercase iRacing. It's the place to be for iRacing paints. So, alright, let's calm everything down. Let's focus on the job at hand now. Car is gridding up for the Vopsy.com race of Germany. 48 laps around the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit. So, for one final time, let's bring in the qualifying results. Will Lyon on the pole in front of Alex Salmon, those two on the front row. It's Matthew Levine and Daniel Dinsdale on row 2 for SMS Racing. Shane Berg and David Saransa row 3, Sam Blackwood and Sherman van der Sloot P8. Alan Rosell and Connie Naslund on row 5. Then we have Taylor Mills in P11, Matthias Krauss in 12th. Andreas Eich, Sam Moyle, Jasper Orman, Anna Jorfi, Connor Pearson and Paul Morgan. Those are the top 18 drivers. So getting ready for 48 laps at Nürburgring, the Vopsy.com race of Germany. Will Lyon, championship leader and most recent road course winner, is going to lead us to the green flag. And here we go for the first trip to the EU. Green flag is out officially now as well as the field storms into turn 1. It's always a chaotic space here into turn 1 as the field, for the moment, navigates their way through it cleanly. Don't see any issues yet, apart from the iRacing frame rate. But clean and green so far, as we have a little bit of tire smoke just up in front. A few people locking tires as there's chaos right there into turn 4. And that's Daniel Dinsdale involved once again with another driver. That is David Saranso, the driver second in the championship. Awful start for those two again at the road courses. We got Daniel Dinsdale without a front wing. But Will Lyon leads into the hairpin for the first time. Followed by Alex Salmon and Matthew Levine. That's the top 3 at the moment. Let's look further back as we have a scrap going on for P5, that is. Oh. Shane Berg getting a little bit wide on the curb there. That's going to put him under pressure from Taylor Mills on the outside. She had a great race last week in Iowa, just didn't really pull it off. Spun on the exit of turn 2, but goes right down the inside of Shane Berg onto the back straight. Move Taylor up into the top 5. As we have a car going down the inside there, or at least having a look. That is Matthias Krauss, I believe that is, as Anna Jorfi goes right through Matthias Krauss. So Matthias probably blinking out for Anna there for just a second, but no damage for either cars. Anna moves up a spot. Up 9 positions from the green flag. She is the biggest mover. Second biggest mover is Connor Pearson and Paul Morgan, both up 7 at the end of lap 1. As we shift focus to Sam Blackwood, who led a small portion at Barber. Of course, had that heartbreaking wheel issue. In the top 5 once again. Let's see what he can do. We're not going to set any expectations because every time a commentator has, he got jinxed. So I'm not going to set any for him today in the hope that he finishes this race without any issues. As Anna Jorfi is under some slight pressure from Matthias Krauss, as he has to look up the inside of Anna into the hairpin, but not really close enough. The hairpin is banked, by the way, so you can take a little bit more speed through it than you think you can. Looking from the back of the Force India inspired livery of Anna Jorfi's her car. Looking to the back of that car, to the front of Matthias Krauss, as he once again gets really close into the chicane. Has a look, and he actually goes for the gap down the inside into the final corner, and leaves the space. Matthias with a nice pass on the inside. Let's see if he can pull it off into turn 1 though, as it's now a drag race across the line into turn 1. Downhill braking zone, as I mentioned at the start, very difficult corner to navigate, especially at the start, but also in the race under normal conditions, as Anna goes wide and actually deep into the corner. Oof, gets really close to Matthias Krauss, but Matthias pulls by into P7. So nice solid move by the German driver in his home race. So he's looking for a strong result on his series debut, I have to add as well. Doing a great job so far as he closes the gap to Shane Berg just in front as well. But at the front, the gap slowly spreading out. But Alex Salmon actually able to stay with Will Lyon by about 0.7 of a second. Is not really growing that gap. It's not really closing down as well. But those two pulling away from the rest of the field. As all these cars are basically running in a single file train right now, which is something we might be seeing at the Daytona 500 this weekend in NASCAR. But oh, Connor Pearson goes in a little bit wide in the chicane. That's going to allow Paul Morgan to have a look into the final corner. Not really close enough to make anything happen there, but down the front straight, if he chooses to use push to pass, which he is, he might be able to make a move. Goes to the inside. With Connor Pearson on the blacks, it shouldn't really be a battle that will be fought too hard, but actually, as I say that, Morgan goes around the outside of turn 3, now into turn 4. And he's gonna make it stick and move up into the top 10. So, very neat move on the Reds, which definitely have a small grip advantage early on. So now Paul has to really try to pull away, because at the end of the stint, the blacks will probably be the better tire. Historically speaking, on most road courses at least. Oh, Conor Nassler getting really close to the back end of Ormans' car. So going back to the front, these two. Gap now down to 0.6 of a second, so it's gone down a 10th last lap. Getting message that the result crashed in lap 1-2. Let's have a quick look. As all these cars are bunched up together, so apologies about the frame rate. iRacing doesn't really process that very well. So you can see the wreck just in front, and actually Rizal gets clipped from the rear. So let's see if we can grab a angle from higher above. Maybe the chase cam works. That's Anna Jorfi going around the outside here, and Rizal actually gets hit by, difficult to tell, Sam Moyle it might have been. Yes, it was Sam Moyle in the purple car. So let's see what happened to Daniel Dinsdale then. In the same incident. Let's slow it down and grab a different angle here to the chopper cam. So 3 wide going into turn 3. Which is something we saw at Barber 2 weeks ago. But then Will Lyon was on the inside and made contact. But Daniel on the outside, I believe it is. Yes, it is Daniel on the outside line. That's Matthew Levine in the 69 car on the outside for this turn 4. And then Sorenso kind of turns into the corner, but he was significantly ahead as well, I think. So it's difficult to really judge on that one. Going back to live pictures, the 2 leaders still unchanged very much. So let's go a little bit further back, see if we can spot any action. As these few cars are still very close together, so let's stay with these. A few people want the Sam cam. We'll go on board for a little bit with Sam Moyle. Of course, Sam was involved in that incident at the start with Rosell. Tapped Rosell around, and both of them have been down the order since then. Please feel free to give me feedback on the audio levels as well, by the way. It's always a bit of a mystery with some of the camera packages from iRacing themselves and then others. Sometimes the audio levels are a little bit messed up. You can actually change those in the camera options. So from what it sounds like, it sounds fine, but of course you, the viewers, might have a different opinion. So please feel free to let me know, and I can lower it or up it if needed. But biggest mover at the moment, Paul Morgan, into the 9th position, started 18th. Inside the top 10 right now. As we look from the side pod of his car to the front. Sharon van der Sloot, who is a Dutch driver, so, well, I believe he's a Dutch driver, I'm pretty sure he is. So it's easy for me to pronounce that name. Thomas Christensen wants an IAR cam, as we have Sam Blackwood going into the pits already at the end of lap 7. So very early pit stop. That's interesting, by the way. We don't see any garages. So Sam gonna come to pit road very early on. Car goes up the jacks, and he will go to the primary tires very early on, which is a surprise to me. But fills the car back up and back underway. I do believe we have a small fuel capacity limit for this race of 80%. It was 85 last week at Iowa, but basically that will mean that you have 56 liters in the tank instead of the usual 70, so that will slightly impact the fuel strategy, not so much the tires, because they will wear out pretty much the same way anyway. Thank you, Thomas. I appreciate that. It's something I was actually worried about. Okay. We still have a few buffering issues. Okay. That's annoying. It might actually be something SDK related then, because when I don't have it open, it never does that. So that's very interesting. I'll have to investigate that a little bit more closely, perhaps with the developers of SDK, maybe find out what the issue is there, but we'll have to roll with it for now then, I suppose, because there's not much I can really do. So the top three unchanged from qualifying. It's still Will Lyon in front of Alex Selman, who were on the front row. Matthew Levine in the third position. The gap is now 5 seconds, by the way, from Selman to Levine. Taylor Mills and Matthias Krauss up 7 positions from the start into the top 5 both. Then we have Shane Berg down 1 spot into 6th. Then we have Sharon van der Sloot into 7th place. Then the biggest mover, Paul Morgan, with that stop from Sam Blackwood. He is now up into P8, up 10 as I said. Then we got Anna Jorfi, 7 positions gained into P9. And she is hanging on to this group of cars through the Schumacher S. Then we have Connie Naslund, who still is in the 10th position from his starting position as well. Then up 4 and 5 respectively are Jasper Orman and Conor Pearson, who round off the top 12. And it's Andreas Eich, who didn't lose or gain anything. And then it's all losers, positional wise, with Alan Rizal, Sam Blackwood, Sam Moyle, Daniel Dinsdale and David Soranzo, the last 3 of which were involved in lap 1 incidents. You can definitely see that these red tires are slowly but surely falling away from not just Anna Jorfi but also a number of drivers around her. The pace dropping just a little bit. The pace is down about a second from the start of the race when everybody was on fresh tires. Which just goes to show you tire wear is definitely a thing, as Sharon van der Sloot goes a little bit wide through the hairpin there. That's going to allow teammate actually, Paul Morgan, to close up a little bit more. Sharon and Paul driving for Simtech Motorsport, which is a new team to this league as well, so welcome to both of them. It's actually a 3-car group, with Shane Burke as well. It's actually something I only noticed just now. So, 3-car team. At least so far the buffering seems to be less. It's still there, so that needs to be fixed obviously, but taking the positives of course, it's a little bit less. Also, apologies if you do hear something in the background of my voice. It's actually very windy out here in the Netherlands. There's a storm passing over with very high winds, so if you hear something falling outside or something, that's what it is. It's all good though, just a little bit of rain. It's nothing that we aren't used to over here. So with Sam Blackwood going off strategy, it's still a little bit unknown what the fuel numbers are going to be like. But if we go with track sized similarly to this track, fuel window should be between 16 and 20 laps, somewhere around then, in those 4 laps. Which isn't very useful information, but it's something to work off. As Taylor Mills is doing a very good job in that 4th position. And Taylor was one of the few drivers that went off strategy last week at Iowa, which did gain her a lot of track position, but one of the yellows, I wouldn't say it really fell at the wrong time, because it really didn't. It wasn't very well timing as well though, so it was kind of in between, but Taylor was left out on old tyres and trying to come into the pits on those very worn out Firestones. Lost it out of turn 2 and lost a chance at a very solid result there. Overall, Iowa was a fantastic race though, so if you haven't seen it yet, make sure to watch it back, or if you don't have the time to watch the full race, there's also a highlight video up there. Same will be for this race, by the way, which is kind of calming down, it has to be said, from the opening laps. Haven't really seen much going on at the moment. So all cars running single file and, well, it's not really like you can run too wide here at all. Apart from maybe a corner or two when you're battling, but didn't really see any passing at all, so probably a little bit of fuel saving, tire conservation going on. Trying to stretch this stint as long as possible. For all we know, it could be a 24 lap fuel window and it's gonna be a one stop, I don't know. I don't think it will be that extreme though. But Matthias Krauss pulling away from Shane Burke a few tenths each lap. And so is Shane Burke, by the way. He's pulling away from his teammate Sharon van der Sloot, who is still running very closely together with Paul Morgan. As Anna Jarvis just in the background goes really late on the brakes into turn 1. Stops the car in time. And Anna is actually driving in the top 10 again, which is something that she's been near for most of the season, last season as well on the road courses. So after 12 laps, it's still Will Lyon out in front for SMS Racing. Really controlling the race at the moment though, but does seem like Alex Salmon is able to kind of hang with Will very easily. Not really putting on any pressure though, so those two staying exactly where they are for a little bit longer. They are pulling away about half a tenth each lap on Matthew Levine. It's not very much, but they are pulling away still. As the gap has almost gone up to 6 seconds now. Just gone down again a little bit, which will fluctuate for a few corners. Of course, Will, Alex or Matthew might be better in some corners and then someone else might be better in another part of the lap. So it will all move around a little bit. It's very impressive though that these two have, if we exclude the top 5, have put these people all racing almost 17 seconds behind them. Of course, Matthias Krauss is 14 seconds back, Taylor Mills 10, Matthew Levine 5, but these guys at the front definitely setting the pace early on. Current fastest lap of the race though, in the hands of Alex Salmon, who sits in the second position, just behind the race leader Will Lyon, with a 1:38.50. Which isn't too far off the qualifying results. Oh, there we go, we're gonna see green flag pit stops for the first time. As we have Alex Salmon blinking out for just a second. Hopefully he regains connection to the servers. But there we go, the top 2 in the pits. And Matthew Levine gonna follow them right in as well. So let's see which compound these two will be going to. I'm personally very interested to see what compound they choose. Of course, Sam Blackwood pitted about 7-8 laps ago. He went to the blacks. And the top 2 are gonna do the same. Matthew Levine stops in his box, also goes to the blacks. So all of these people going to the blacks very early on, it has to be said. But It seems like everybody's going to the blacks. I would expect a few people to go to the reds again, but none of them are. So Taylor Mills off and away again. And Sam Blackwood really didn't gain anything at all. In fact, he actually lost time compared to the people he was around. So not a very good call by Sam early on to pit on lap 7. But I suppose that does put him in the fuel window to make it to the end at least. So on that side he will be good to go. But in all of that, Will Lyon actually got a car in between himself and Alex Salmon. That is Connor Pearson for Wyvern Racing in a 31. It's a nice number, by the way. It's totally not biased because I use it myself too. But Connor is kind of splitting those two right now. You can see the gap between Will and Alex actually going up quite significantly now. The gap is about 2.5, almost 3 seconds. So this is really the part of the race as well, but where Will often really gets in his flow. And really starts setting some good lap times and being consistent as well. So Connor Pearson gonna pit now. But I think for Alex the damage might already be done. The gap is 2.5 seconds now. Actually it's closer to 3 seconds now. Just it's 2.8 seconds. So I think that pit cycle worked out very well for Will Lyon, who went in the pits and out of the pits the quickest. So now we have the two Simtek cars out in front. Berg leading Van der Sloot. And those two have been together all race long as well, so I don't think we should really expect any fireworks between these two, at least not for the time being. Oh, Will Lyons just had an off. Just as I said that he was getting into a nice rhythm. He's gone off in the Schumacher S, I believe that is. Maybe he clipped the gravel. I'm not really sure. Let's see if we can find what happened to him. Here we go. So the Schumacher S gets on the curb. Oh, car just gets loose, steps out away from him. Doesn't hit anything apart from those poor little cones, but careful on the rejoin, and he does. So loses a few positions, which isn't great. Which, as soon as Shane Berg and Van der Sloot pit, will give Salmon the race lead now by quite a few seconds over Will Lyon. Actually, Matthew Levine in the 4th position at the moment, which will be P2 in just a moment, as Andreas Eik is also yet to pit. But let's go back live. So, as we were looking at that replay, Shane Berg did come into the pits at the end of lap 15. So Sharon van der Sloot gonna lead one more lap on his own here. And I really want to listen to his engine sounds if he's saving fuel. Oh, gets really loose on the Schumacher S there on the worn tires. Just keeps the car under control. It seems to be a trend lately in the PMRL where drivers get really loose and save the cars. If you watched last week's race in Iowa, Alexis Newsom had a really close moment where she almost threw away that win. But oh, Sharon massively lifting off right there. And here we go for Sharon van der Sloot as well. Got to be careful on the pit entry right here. If you all remember in real life in 2007. When it started raining, a number of cars actually slid wide and out of the pit entrance again, back onto the racing track. So it's very easy to do in the dry as well. Of course, we don't have rain yet on iRacing, but still very easy to do. as Van der Sloot makes his way into his stall, and just in the background there on the screen you could see Salmon driving by, so does Matthew Levine, Sam Blackwood, Will Lyon and Taylor Mills, who all move in front of Sharon Van der Sloot. Matthias Krauss gonna go by 2, and Van der Sloot goes back to the primaries as he rejoins just a little bit in front of his teammate, who is on the Reds actually, so look for Shane to really close up to the back end of Sharon very quickly. Oh, did Van der Sloot just make a mistake, or is he letting his teammate by? I'm not really sure. Either way though, Berg moves in front of Van der Sloot on his teammate into the 7th position. And there goes indeed Matthew in chat. Let's go back one more time actually, see it from the onboard of Will Lyons' car, as just as I covered, the car steps out away from him and does really well to not hit anything. Hitting the brakes is very important when you spin, of course, that you don't spin back onto the racing track or into the wall. So nicely done by Will, as there's a car in front. Can't really tell who that is though, might be a lapped car. So 30 laps to go in the Vopsi.com race of Germany. Of course, Vopsi lowercase iRacing is the race sponsor and also a sponsor of the Prime Meridian Racing League. Here you can see a quick slideshow of a number of paints that Vilda has made. Again, Vopsi lowercase iRacing on Instagram, which is where you can contact Vilda Wallen. She does these awesome paints not just for the Indycar but also plenty of other cars. So make sure to check it out. And also want to thank Major's Garage for sponsoring the PMRL. Of course, if you use the referral link, it helps us out as a league. So if you need a setup for an open setup league for whatever car, go to majorsgarage.com and yeah, use our referral code. So you get the big esports setup. And actually, on your purchase from Major's Garage, a small amount of that purchase goes to the league. So when doing that, it really does help the PMRL out for session hosting fees, for example. Of course, it doesn't cost you anything extra, but seeing a lot of lifting and coasting in this race so far tonight, so actually does make sense though that these drivers are splitting it into a 2-stop race. 16 plus 16 is 32, right? And then 16 again is 48, so that's the strategy, I think, what's happening right now. But just a moment ago, Anna Jorfi lost their position, I believe, to Connie Naslund, so let's see if we can find a replay from that, because it was just happening off the screens. Oh, it's actually a very nice scrap of position I'm seeing right now. So going down the back straight, side by side between Anna Jorfi and Connie Naslund into the chicane. Oof, Connie moves over just a little bit. Goes over the curb. Ah, it was right there, okay. SDK having a few more issues on the timing and scoring, but that's okay. At least we have it working, which we didn't at the start of the broadcast, so huge plus. As Paul Morgan is really leading a Simtech Motorsports train. It's, I was gonna make a Truly Train joke, but he doesn't have a T in his name, so I can't really do that. But it's very similar to what Janu Trulli used to do. Basically hold everybody up for his teammates, which was Alonso at the time at Renault. Matthias Krauss, though, apart from the opening few laps, it has been a very quiet day for him so far. He is up 6 into P6 on his first start of the season, and I believe in the league as well. If not, I'm sorry, but if it is his first start, welcome to the league to Matthias Krauss. Also welcome, of course, to the new drivers, Shane Burke, Sharon van der Sloot and Paul Morgan. As Connor Pearson has just moved by Jesper Orman for P12. Let's see what happened between those two. Jesper Orman's just gone deep into turn 1, outbraked himself, and Connor drove right by him. So easy position for Connor. So I think it's safe to assume that the top 3 is going to be on a 2-stop strategy with Sam Blackwood on that 3-stopper. Remember that he pitted at the end of lap 7. So he will not be able to make it on 2 stops. Total, that is. It's going to be 2 more for him. That stop should be about 2 or 3 laps away for Sam, as he is right behind Will Lyon. And I do believe Sam's actually running a new livery, which is looking very nice. I like it. As actually, just as I say that, he's going to go into the pits earlier. Lap 21, so it's been 14 laps on these tyres for Sam. And he is right back onto pit road. So let's see what the tyres of choice are going to be this time around. I'm expecting the blacks again. Actually, as I say that, let's bring up the track temperatures. It's 32 degrees, so not very hot, but not very cold either. Goes back to the blacks. As there's a car, it's Andreas Ike, which Sam will rejoin just in front of. Currently watching Will Lyon trying to make up some ground. Of course, he spun a few laps ago on relatively cold black tires, so trying to make up that lost ground. Still in that 3rd position, but since that spin, which was from the lead, by the way, the gap really hasn't come down that much. The gap is now 8.3. He's trying to, but it's not really working, it seems. Of course, trying to make that fuel number as well, which is going to be very difficult because he's got a car 2 seconds up the road, which really won't gain you much drafting help at all. Of course, if you have the slipstream, or the draft as we call it in Indycar, it's a little bit easier to save fuel because the car in front is pushing the air. It's really the same as slipstream, of course. So you can actually lift and coast behind the car in front and save fuel that way, but Will at the moment doesn't really have that luxury. As Dinsdale moves in front of Ruzel for P15. Just here, as Ruzel actually goes for a wild ride through the grass. Did he hit anything? I don't think he did. Let's see one more time if he actually hit anything. Nope, didn't hit anything. So great save by Ruzel. Not ideal, of course, but it's better than getting any damage, for sure. So last lap, Will Lyon did gain 2/10 on Alex Salmon, who is out in front quite comfortably, it has to be said. It's a 6.3 second gap over Matthew Levine. Top 2 at one spot, Will Lyon down 2 from that spin. Biggest mover still is Paul Morgan, as these two, not two, these, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars are in a tight group together, so let's stick with these guys. And, this turn is actually led by Connie Naslund, and I want to see if Connie is actually saving fuel at all as well, because a few people around him have. Let's listen. Don't really hear much lifting and coasting at all for Connie. How about Paul Morgan then? As Annie Jorfi is getting a small run on him. These cars don't seem to be saving any fuel at all, so this is a straight fight for position as Anna Jorfi's on the push to pass. Gonna have a look around the outside of turn 1. Goes very late on the brakes. This is impressive if she pulls it off, and she does. Great move by Anna into P9, that is. Paul Morgan down into the 10th position now, with Connor Pearson just riding along behind these people. Let's see when these people are pitted. So this is the top 8, and we can actually probably add a few drivers to that. Let's add a top 12 to that. So you can see as these cars cross the line, so we'll just give it a quick second. So the top 5 all pitted at the end of lap 11, or have 11 laps on these tires, I should say. They all pitted at the end of lap 13. Then we have Berg and Van der Sloot, who all pitted at the end of lap 9 and then lap 8, with 9 and 8 laps on these tires, I'm sorry. Trying to read this graphic is a little bit hard sometimes, as Connor Pearson actually goes up the inside of the 24 of Paul Morgan. Trying to make it around the outside now, using the red tires to his advantage, I should say. Still trying to make it work. He's got the inside for the next corner, so very tight racing between these two, and actually pulls it off. Jesper Orman now gonna have a look as well, and actually makes it work too, as the graphic was in the way. I apologize about that. Trying to talk strategy here for a little bit, but Paul Morgan losing 2 positions in a few corners time. So let's see what happened then, and have it on the replay. So Connor on the inside for turn 1, that's going to be the outside for turn 2. And also for turn 3, by the way. But for turn 4, as I mentioned, that will become the inside, as Connor goes very nice and late on the brakes to try and get his car alongside again for turn 4 right here. And from this moment on, Paul doesn't really get the traction he needs on that outside curb, and loses the position to Jesper Orman as well. So nice move. But as I mentioned a few minutes ago, fuel stints about 16 laps. As I have a few more takers for pit road with 23 laps to go. So Conor Pearson and Paul Morgan into the pits. Conor gonna get rid of the reds and Paul from the blacks. Let's see if he goes back to the reds. Actually, as I say that, goes back to the reds. I don't think he's driven on the reds all race long. Here we go. Red tyres it is. For Paul Morgan, Conor Pearson goes to those reds as well. So I think the crossover happened between this and the previous stint, where the reds might now be the faster tyre. We have a little bit of cloud cover as well. So that will help the reds. Let's see, the track temperatures are now down to 30 degrees. So it is definitely coming down. As you can see, 18-degree air temperatures and also approaching 4 p.m. in the sim. So sun's going down, which means the temperatures of the track will also be going down. So Matthew Levine and Will Lyon now together, the two teammates. Will has closed the gap to him as Will actually makes a very slight mistake. And Will come into the pits right away. He's going to follow Alex Salmon into the pits. So Matthew Levine staying out one more lap. And he will get a point for leading a lap. Matthew Levine is across the line. I want to see which tyres Alex goes on to. Will he go to the reds too? Yes, he does. So let's see what Will does. I'm expecting the same, to be fair. There you go, to the reds as well. So everybody going back to the reds now. A little bit of tyre smoke. Might have been a luck up from either Anna Jorfi or Sharon van der Sloot. We're running very closely together still. And those two are in a pack of about 5-6 cars just a few moments ago. So once this pit cycle all plays out again, let's see where these two will be. As Daniel Dinsdale is in the pits, not really having the best of days, into 16th place now. And also Sorensen not having a good day, down in 16th now as he moves by Daniel Dinsdale. Getting the track map up there on the screen. Of course, the numbers for all of the drivers are on the left in the timing tower. Of course, you got Matthew Levine in the 69, Shane Burke in the 17, Sheva van der Sloot in the 11, and the list goes on. You can track your favorite driver on the track map. I will leave this open for a few laps, maybe to the end. So Matthew Levine is in the pits now. Stops in the box and we'll go to the reds as well. Wow, what a wild guess. I really didn't expect that. So basically what it's going to be from this point onwards is the fuel window was about 16 laps, but they're not going to make 16 laps from here to the finish. Of course, 21 to go. So it's really going to be an 11 lap sprint for Matthew Levine as he rejoins side by side with Will Lyon. Will to the inside, gets the position up into P2. Provisionally, of course, as everybody else is yet to pit in front. Apart from Alex Salmon, of course. But it's really going to be an 11 lap sprint now on these two reds, these red sets. There's one more stop to go for the field. So we don't really need to run these tyres as long as you had to in the first stint. Now, did I miss something, or are these guys getting much better fuel mileage all of a sudden? I really don't think they are getting much better fuel mileage. The fuel mileage is still about 16 laps, but everybody just moving over to that 3-stop strategy because the tires apparently falling off so much. And it really does show, by the way, because the top 3 at the moment are in the 1 minute 40s, which is Second and a half away from what you want to be doing. Almost into the 1:41s even, so... Make that 2 seconds actually. If you do that 16 times 2, 32 seconds, which is right about what you lose in the pits. So the three stop is definitely making some sense at the moment, as Anna Jorfi and Jasper Orman are also going to pit to get another fresh set of Firestones. Red's going on both of their cars. Anna in and out first, Jasper right behind. Alain Rosell also in, but he is not really in the mix anymore for a good result, unfortunately. Of course, if you all remember from the opening lap, we had a few issues for Rosell and a few other drivers. As Rosell stops in his box. Let's go back to lap 1. This is Daniel Dinsdale making contact with David Saranzo on the opening lap. These two running in 3rd and 4th position. As Saranzo is going to turn right into turn 4. Trying to clip the apex, but Daniel was on the inside and really chaos kicked off right behind. And that was also Alain Rosell getting hit in the back by, I believe it is Sam Moyle. In turn 4. The wreck between Dinsdale and Saranzo happening just in front, and as you can see right there, Rosell gets hit in the back, spun around. That was all on the opening lap of this Vopsy.com race of Germany. As we have a few buffering issues once again. Really not sure what the deal with it is anymore. Kind of confused myself. It's probably down to SDK Gaming somehow. Because last night I had no issues streaming, and for my own personal streaming I have never had any issues as well. So it's very recent with SDK overlays open, so it's all kind of sus, to be honest. But seems to be fine for the most part, just not ideal, so sorry about that. So Sam Blackwood, the first car to really commit to that 3-stop strategy, of course. Everybody else pitted at the end of lap 16, some at the end of lap 15, a little bit earlier on the pit cycle. So they tried to make it on the 2-stop, but just didn't really work. As saving fuel is very important to make that 2-stopper work. And I think Shim Burke is trying to do that. He pitted at the end of lap 15. Kind of curious to see if he can pull it off though. He's actually trying to find out where Will Lyon is on the track. It's just behind the 3 car, who's a lap down, I believe. No, that's the 4 car. Is it me or are the numbers messed up on this? I'm confused. How about this? There we go. So now we got the numbers up. 17 going through the hairpin, Will Lyon in the 1. Just approaching the hairpin now, so the gap here is about 10 seconds, as you can see on the timing tower as well. It's 9.6, 9.7. So if Shane can save this fuel, he might just be able to pull it off. Let's bring up this beautiful strategy graphic again. Pit stop laps. Lap 15. We are on lap 30 now, so There we go, he's going to come into the pits, but there's 18 laps to go. I really don't think you can make it to the end from here. So, Shane Burke gave it a very good go, but I don't think he will be able to make it happen. So he will drop a little bit further. Of course, the strategy isn't really ideal. But Alex Salmon back into the race lead. 3 seconds clear of Will Lyon, and he is coming. Will on the charge, trying to make up for that lost ground. Of course, Will spun in the beginning of the last stint. So very similarly to Barber, having to make up for one mistake this time around in the race. There you can see Will Lyon coming out of the chicane, going into the hairpin. And that gap is closing quite quickly. It's been closing by about 2/10 over the last few corners. So Will definitely the faster driver at the moment. Which is kind of the opposite of what we've seen at the start of the race, where Alex Selma was actually able to stay with Will very easily. And actually looked really quite a lot quicker than Will at times as well. But now it's the opposite. Got Andreas Eick into the pits on 16 to go. So this is in the window to make it to the end if you save fuel. We've seen it done before in this race, 16 laps, so it is possible. It's difficult, but it's possible. So Andreas goes to the blacks, wants that long run stability in the tires, and consistency I should say, not stability, but oh well, he's off and away again. All the way down in 16th though, so not a very good day for Andreas Eick. Ah, here's the only driver that's actually able to pull this off if he can make the final stint work. I did talk about him just a few moments ago, but I didn't expect Sherwin to actually do this because his teammates weren't able to. But Sherwin is the only driver that pitted at the end of lap 16, and now with 16 to go is going to come in again. So Sherwin doing that two-stopper, and at the moment it really does seem like he does have this under control, which is very impressive, making this good of a fuel economy. So to the Reds again for the final stint, 16 laps, as we have a nice battle for position with Jasper Orman and Paul Morgan. Paul trying to hang on to that position. Battle for P11 this is between these two. So now the gloves really are off. It's a race to the finish, and anything you can gain is good. And all the playing nice is kind of gone now. Sorenso is in the pits again. So down to 14 laps to go. Sam Blackwood's now in the pits for his final stop. 14 to go. I'm really trying to work out all the pit laps here right now. So everybody really pitted at the end of lap 26, which was... what's 48 minus 14? 34. So 8 laps ago. So basically the entire top 6 is splitting this race, the final part of this race, into 2 parts of about 11 laps basically. 12 laps I should say. No wait, 11 laps, yeah, I'm right. 26 plus 11 is 48, yes. The big brain strategist trying to work out the strategies. But of course, like we've done in the first 2 races of the season, driver of the day is very much a thing once again. So votes are open. Thanks to Jessica Saban in chat for making the poll once again. Sam Blackwood won it twice in a row. Very quickly becoming the Max Verstappen of the PMRL in terms of driver of the day votes. But really not sure who it should go to. I think Connor Pearson is a good contender for driver of the day. He's up 10 positions from his starting spot, which will be about +8 when he pits, and everybody else as well, because Blackwood, for example, already pitted. Van der Sloot already pitted. He's going to the end, we know that. So just keep that in mind. But overall, I think Connor has been the most impressive driver so far today. I hit my mic, sorry about that. But he's a good contender for it. If Will Lyon actually makes the win happen, I think he might be a good shot for driver of the day. Of course, we do know that his pace is very strong, but to make a mistake and come back through the field is also very impressive. So maybe he has a shot at driver of the day. Taylor Mills. I didn't really expect Taylor to be this far up at the front, so I think Taylor is in a good shot for that as well. But yeah, votes are open, of course, as I said, so voting closes at the checkered flag, which will be when the votes close and will be announced on the broadcast, of course. As Connor Pearson is going to make his final stop now. Slows it down for the pit speed. And this is a difference between Connor Pearson and a few other drivers that I've seen earlier in the season as well. There's a few drivers, like the SMS Racing boys, that actually shift from first to second gear to kind of gain some speed in the pits. If you stay in one gear, it actually keeps a consistent speed, but with iRacing it allows you to actually go a kilometer per hour or 2 over it sometimes for not too long, but just a little bit. So it's not a huge advantage that you gain by doing that, but it does gain you a little bit of time by shifting, because the RPMs kind of kick the car forward and gains you some speed. So that's something that I've noticed that Connor Pearson, for example, isn't doing. The drivers like Will Lyon, Matthew Levine from SMS, for example, or maybe the Indianapolis racing crew, they are all doing that when a few other people don't. Again, as I mentioned, it's not a huge advantage, but it can help you in close races sometimes, especially on ovals, by the way. As Pearson works his tyres up to the right operating temperatures and pressures, with 12 laps to go. Here we go, Will Lyon in the pits. And he's going to be doing the undercut on Alex Salmon, which on the outlap will not be very ideal for Will because he will be slower. But his tyres will be up to temperature a little bit quicker. So maybe when Alex pits on his outlap, Will is able to catch him and overtake him. as he bursts it down away from his pit stall, trying to get heat into those rears. As he rejoins in clean air with a car right behind. Oh, Will Lyon's actually gaining time on Alex Salmon at the moment. You can see the gap coming down from 25.5. Just goes up a little bit again now, but it just went down. So, very impressive outlap so far by Will Lyon. Let's see what he can do for the remainder of this lap. So here we go, Salmon into the pits too. And now we'll see where he rejoins in relation to Will Lyon. Because remember what I just said, Will's tyres will be a little bit hotter than Salmon's tyres will be. So if Will wants to make a move early, it has to be on the outlap. From there you can kind of control, because it's not very easy to pass here. The only real passing opportunity is into turns 1 and into the chicane on the back side of the track. And if you can cover that, you're pretty much guaranteed to hold on to the position. And with push to passes, Will Lyon actually jumps Alex Salmon through the pits. So another great pit cycle for Salmon. And Will Lyon back to the race lead where he was at the start of the race until that mistake. So great comeback drive. Just gotta hope for Will he can pull it off. And he also has a significant push to pass advantage, which will help him. Alex Salmon has 7 pushes left, Will Lyon all 10 still to go. And we know that Will likes to save those for the final few laps, just in case he really does need them. It's a really huge flex as well, by the way. He's able to drive through the field without using any push to pass. But just goes to show again how strong his pace really is. So Matthew Levine, with 10 to go, he will stay at 1 more lap. He's got a 9.5 second lead over Taylor Mills. Top 3 still yet to pit with Matthias Krauss in P3. And it's not really a small margin at all as well, by the way, that Will Lyon took the lead from. It's almost 4 seconds already. 3 seconds, sorry. So great final pit cycle for Will. As all these guys are going to come into the pits now. Taylor Mills, Matthias Krauss, Connie Naslund in the pits too. They all go back to the Reds as predicted. And Connie actually going to go into his box right now. Let's see what he does. I'm expecting the Reds again though, like everybody else is doing. And actually goes to the Blacks. Wow. That's a change. Maybe Connie didn't run the primaries at all in this race, so that's why he's running the Blacks now. Of course, there's a rule in the league that you have to use both compounds for at least 1 green flag lap, I believe. I do know for sure you have to use both compounds at some point in the race, but I believe there's a lap number involved for that too. But track temperature now down to 27 degrees. So these Reds work the absolute best right now. And of course the Blacks will not be working as well as they did at the start, because cooler track temperatures mean the Reds will have a higher operating window. Actually degrade, let's wait, what am I trying to say here? English is failing on me. A little bit less, quicker. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but you guys probably understand what I'm trying to say. But the Blacks have a very low operating temperature because it's a harder rubber compound, so it works best in the hotter temperatures and environments. But Connie Nassant under pressure from Paul Morgan, who was running at the front, by the way, well inside the top 10 earlier, on a different strategy compared to most. Trying to make a move on Connie Nassant, goes on the inside, late on the brakes, very neat move. Uses all the grip on the reds to make that pass happen, great move. Into P13 for Paul Morgan on his first start this season. Anna Jorvie, by the way, into P5 for the time being. Of course, she still needs to pit, I believe. She last pitted at the end of lap 28. So she will be about 4 laps short. And it might be a splash and go at this point for Anna Jorvie. The gap between Will Lyon and Alex Salmon is slowly coming down. Whether Will be able to hold on is a question that will be answered in the next 8 laps, but currently the fastest lap of the race is a 1:37.91 by Daniel Dinsdale. Of course, he is all the way down in 16th place, just at the tail end of the lead lap. And here we go, Anna Jorvie in the pits. I want to see if she actually takes tires or not. That's something I'm interested in. I think you should, but... Oh. sideways into the pit box. That's really going to cost Anna right here. Car goes up to Jacks. Goes to the blacks. Interestingly enough. So that's really strange. The track is cooling down. And a number of people are going to the blacks. I'm not really sure if I understand that decision, but these people are in the cockpits. I'm not. Not tonight anyway. And Anna rejoins in P11. And she has got Paul Morgan just behind, trying to close the gap. Of course, Paul is already on warmer tires, so Paul will be a little bit quicker, especially on this outlap of Anna's. But Anna does have the fresher tires, so she might be able to hold on. Let's keep an eye out on this battle, as I'm secretly hoping that Sharon is able to pull off this strategy. In the top 5 right now. Last lap time for Sherwin was a 1:39.6, which is quote-unquote only 0.8 of a second slower than Will Lyon, who is going flat out. So while saving fuel, pace is actually looking very strong for the 11th driver for Simtech Motorsports. So let's see what Sam Blackwood can do though, as he is closing up to Sherwin's gearbox. There's Jesper Orman pits. So Jasper also going to the blacks. This is really starting to confuse me, to be fair, but 6 laps to go. The gap is down to 2.4 at the front. I have to say, for these drivers, I'm gonna vote for Sharon van der Sloot for driver of the day. Will Lyon, Alex Salmon, Sharon van der Sloot and Taylor Mills are driver of the day options, by the way. If you go to the Stropel link in the chat, posted by Jessica, the PMRL admin, and boss, you can vote for the driver of the day. Basically the driver that you think performed best in the race tonight, considering whatever happened to them. Of course, Will Lyon made that mistake. Starting the second stint, lost it on the Schumacher S, and they lost a few positions, fought his way back to the lead. Sherman van der Sloot trying a two-stopper, which seems to be working very well for him at the moment. He started 8th, is now up into 5th. Taylor Mills is a driver, for me personally, I don't really know as a road course specialist. I know Taylor more as an oval driver, especially after last week, by the way, at Iowa, but doing a very solid job too in the 7th position. And Alex Salmon on a very impressive drive as well. Kept it clean. And provided he can't catch Will Lyon, will be on for a very nice 2nd place, but of course the race isn't over yet. So maybe he will get away with the win. We just don't know. That's a line that we said so many times on the virtualracing.network, by the way, last season. When we're talking strategies, we just don't know. We just have to wait and see. But I got 10 viewers in chat. Welcome everybody, as always. I know it's a bit late at this stage, but going forward as well, if you have any questions, comments, or anything else you want to say about the drivers who you're supporting, feel free to put it in chat. Of course, interaction is always important, so feel free to put something in there. And also, if you like the broadcast, I know it's been a little bit of a mess due to some technical issues tonight, but if you do like the show, then make sure to subscribe and like the broadcast. And subscribe to the channel, of course, that is. Next week we go to Indianapolis for the first Triple Crown round. 250 miles, 100 laps. And Indy is the race where no one cares where you finish other than when you win it. So I think a lot of drivers are really looking forward to that race, and so am I. It's going to be interesting though with the aero package for this car. On iRacing it's promoting some solid racing. Could be better though, more optimized. In real life, of course, we know how well it races, but in iRacing sometimes it has either a little bit too much grip or too little in the hot conditions. So hopefully next week we have a good show. Of course, also want to once again thank the sponsors Majors Garage and Vopsy iRacing Paints. You can find links to both in the description. Of course, Majors is a referral code, which a small amount of the money that you spend on Majors goes to the PMRL to help fund the league. And of course, Vilda does great iRacing paints for the iRacing and other cars as well. Vopsy lowercase iRacing on Instagram is the place where you can contact her. Not much really has happened in the last few laps, it has to be said. There has been a few strategies. There have been a few strategies that have caught my eye, but other than that, no real positional changes, which might change soon though, with Sam Blackwood closing up to the back end of Sherman van der Sloot, who is still holding on to that 5th position while saving fuel. So very impressive race for the Dutchman, fellow countryman of mine. I promise there's no bias. Okay, maybe a little bit. So I'll take that promise back. Actually, he's the only Dutchman in the league, I believe. At least in this race tonight, so. These two the closest battle on track. We do have Orman and Din still close together, but those two are battling for P12. I don't really think it's worth taking an eye away from this battle, so we'll stay with these two with 3 laps to go. Of course, we will cover Will Lyon as he will make his way around for the final few times, but final few turns, I should say. Oh, Sharon goes really wide into the chicane. Sam's going to have a nice exit off of the chicane. Goes to the inside of the final corner. The two going side by side. Sharon should have the momentum of the corner. Gets a very nice exit. As we look out from the front suspension of Sam Blackwood, both on the push to pass into turn 1. Van der Sloot gonna defend the inside. Sam trying to do the crossover, but isn't able to do so. Doesn't have the traction there in these reds to really pull it off. And Taylor Mills is getting involved in this battle too. So Sherwin trying to hold on to from two cars, I should say, for 2 positions. And this seems like definitely the most interesting battle all night long. And it goes right down to the end of the race. 2 laps to go, 2.2 between the 2 leaders. Not much really happening there. So it looks like Will Lyon will be able to come back into the race lead after spinning. It's to spin and win. Not sure if Gary Gotso is watching, but I'm sure he appreciates that reference. So white flag is out for Will Lyon. As he crosses the line right there, goes into his final racing lap. As on the front straight, these people are starting their final laps as well. And at the moment, it's looking like Sharon is able to hold on to the position, lifting and coasting into turn 1 still. Sam closes up under the brakes, but really isn't able to place his car anywhere that threatens that 5th position of Van der Sloot. So great drive so far tonight. Just a few more corners to go for Will Lyon as well. As he makes his way into the hairpin, as we pick him up. Barber had an incident with his teammates, came back to the win. Iowa had a solid night. Not very impressive there, but it was acceptable, I guess, for a driver not so confident on the ovals. And tonight had a spin, and he's going to win at Nürburgring. Well, don't want to say that just yet, actually. Don't want to be too early. But 3 corners to go. The final chicane, 2. And now just 1 more corner to go. So Will Lyon going to go to victory lane for the 2nd time this season. Once again on a road course, this time at the Nürburgring. He will extend his championship lead as he comes across the line to take home another win in the Prime Meridian Racing League. And that's a well-deserved win right there. So congratulations, Will Lyon. As Matthew Levine just holds on to Shane Burke as well for P3. But Alex Selman comes home in P2. Now let's go to P5. As Sam Blackwood actually got by Van der Sloot, who drops to 8th. I didn't really see what happened to him here, as he's got some small slight front wing damage. And a Jarvie right behind as well. Will she be able to get that position as well? Bit of wheel spin for Van der Sloot. Anna having a look, but not really able to make anything happen just yet. Around the outside maybe. Van der Sloot blocks that one right off, and Anna with a very nice exit is actually going to pull in front of Van der Sloot to take P8. So Van der Sloot drops from P5 to P9. And he runs out of fuel right across the line. So let's grab a replay from that in just a second, because I didn't see what happened to him as I was watching Will Lyon. Trying to find what happened though. Where is it? Alright, here we go. So, Sheriff Van der Sloot defending the inside, Sam around the outside, makes the pass work, and Sam actually cuts just but oh, okay, Sam just cuts in front of Van der Sloot, and then there is another car. Couldn't really tell who that was. Was it? Yes, it was Taylor Mills, who actually hits Van der Sloot right there. I need a slow-mo of this one. So Taylor throws it down the inside right there as Van der Sloot is making the apex. It's a very late move by Taylor. I'm not really sure she should have been in that spot, to be fair, but I guess Van der Sloot could have seen it coming as well. It was the last lap, so kind of anything goes. Well, not literally anything, but most of it goes. So, last lap drama for these two, as Van der Sloot drops all the way to P8. It was a very impressive drive for sure, though, but Will Lyon goes to victory lane once again, as the race results are in. As here we go. Will Lyon for SMS Racing wins it by 2.3 seconds over Alex Salmon, who brings it home in P2. Very impressive performance by both of them. Matthew Levine finishes in P3, rounds off the podium, 13 seconds back. Then it is Shane Burke, Sam Blackwood who round off the top 5, Matthias Krauss, Connor Pearson, Anna Jorfi, Taylor Mills and Connie Nassen who round off the top 10. Dennis Andreas, Ike, David Saranso, Daniel Dinsdale, Jasper Orman, Paul Morgan, Sharon van der Sloot, Alan Rosell and Sam Moyle, who are the final cars to finish this race. All the other cars that you saw on the timing tower were admins, so they don't really count. So it all happened in the final few laps. As we wait for the driver of the day results to come in as well, we'll have a look who is on Discord and free to chat to us. As I will save the replay just in case the admins need it. So let's launch Discord. Pray that works. Of course, if you remember at the start of the broadcast we had some technical issues, so hopefully it works. But overall it's been, for the most part, it's been a quiet race. It had some very exciting moments for sure though, like we all saw. So it was a very interesting race. But I think the unknowns of the Nürburgring really did show, because the gaps at the middle part of the race really were quite far spread out. But let's see who wants to talk to us. Don't have any drivers in the waiting room just yet, so we'll just give it a minute more. But I have to say it's quite a big shame for Sharon van der Sloot to really lose that many positions at the end there. Had a great run, was on for a top 5, but just in that last lap didn't really work out for him. But Will Lyon though with a great performance once again, winning. Spin and win it is. So looking at the schedule, just going to give them a few more seconds to jump in. Here it is. Next week, the Indianapolis 250, which is going to be the second oval of the season, the first Triple Crown round, the first Super Speedway of the season. Then we go to Detroit Belle Isle before a week off until we return to the second EU race at Silverstone. Then we have the second Triple Crown round at Auto Club. Then we go back to Watkins Glen, which is a venue that the PMRL visits quite regularly. I think it's actually visited there each season. Then we got Pocono and Laguna Seca to cap off the season. So in all of that, we do have drivers with us for interviews. So let's bring in the top 3. Let's see what they have to say. So we'll start with Matthew Levine. Hello, gentlemen. I want to start with Matthew Levine, who finished in the 3rd position. Great run once again. Another podium for you, sir. It's been quiet for the most part, apart from the start of the race where you were around a few incidents. Just talk me through how you avoided those and really how you drove the rest of the race.
To be honest, the start was abysmal from me. Put in a good qualifying, get 3rd. You know, one of the best qualifyings I've ever done, but I was absolutely asleep at the start, and so I was sort of sticking my nose up places it shouldn't have been, trying to recover the positions I lost at the start. Fortunately for me, I was on the outside, so when those guys wrecked, I was able to just go wide and avoid. But yeah, mostly a quiet race. Just didn't have the pace of Alex and Will. Those guys were rapid. But yeah.
I think that caps it off perfectly. So not much to really add to that. Next week going to Indianapolis. Any special thoughts for the big event of the season?
Not actually going to be here, so I'll be watching it on the stream,
okay.
supporting my teammates.
Well, that's a shame, but hopefully see you in 3 weeks then at Silverstone. Is that correct? I think looking at the schedule really quickly.
Right next, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not really sure, but anyway, I hope to see you for the next race after that then. So, before I let you go, feel free to send out your shoutouts.
Well, it's got to be to the big man as always, Ian Bell. As every time I say, without him, me and Will wouldn't be here. And yeah, if you want to get a podium in PMRL, all I can say is get on Project Cars 2. It will hone in all your driving skills, all the wet weather that you can have there. That's where you learn the fine points of driving.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you.
No worries. Perfect. So moving on to Alex Salmon then. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is your first start this season and also in the league. So congratulations on P2. We saw you leading after Will made that mistake. Just talk me through trying to keep that consistency up there, because I saw it was quite tough out there with the ties at some stages in the race. Just talk me through that, please.
To be honest, I think the blacks were just a bit difficult to manage. I kind of struggled once I lost kind of my reference point, which was Will. I kind of struggled to keep them keep going quickly on them. Basically, they're quite easy to kind of lose control and drop it. So yeah, I probably could have done quite a bit better there of just being a bit more brave on them. But yeah, I mean, it was really unlucky Will losing it, because that is a terrible corner in this on this setup. It's really loose through there. So yeah, that was a shame, but he clawed it back, which was good to see.
Well, you still came away with a nice, solid second place, so you really can be proud of that in your first start this season. Any hopes for Indianapolis and the rest of the races this season?
To be honest, I'm just going to see how it goes. Like, I'm not committing to an entire season, I don't think. I think I'll see how things go, like see what I enjoy. I'm kind of not taking it as seriously as I have done in previous seasons, let's say, and previous leagues. So I just want to see how it goes, and if there's a track that I don't enjoy, I'm probably not going to race, and I'll just kind of do what I feel like doing. And yeah, as a wise man once said, it's only a hobby for me.
I think I know which man you're talking about. But basically, a very clear mindset that you really don't have much to lose. I'm looking forward to see what you can do in any races that you will be doing. So looking forward to seeing you in the future. But before I let you go, feel free to send out your shoutouts as well.
Yeah, I just suppose thanks to Mills for keeping me in the team despite not racing for like a season and a half. And just thanks to the guys that kind of motivated me to get back into it, because it's been a little while away from racing. So yeah, it was nice to get back in it and yeah, see how I can.
Perfect. Well, see you at the next race, whichever that's going to be then.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, so moving on to Will Lyon. The man that won the race again at the road courses, just like at Barber. Didn't really wasn't smooth sailing for you. Just talk me through that spin. Of course, we Alex mentioned that corner. It wasn't very easy in this setup. So just talk me through that over the race and also the incident itself.
Yeah, to be honest, it was, wow. Yeah, another up and down race. First stint, I mean, I was really impressed by Alex's pace. I couldn't get rid of him at all, and I was pushing pretty much as hard as I could, and he was right on my gearbox, and I wouldn't have blamed him if he had tried to send it up the inside at turn 1 or something. So that was tough. I gained a bit of time, and to be honest, I was taking it easy on the primaries, and then the rear end just came right round on me, and I corrected too much, and the car just snapped around. And I've got to thank my lucky stars that I didn't get any damage, didn't go flying into the wall. So then, yeah, it was just a recovery drive from then on, and I didn't really have any ambitions of fighting for the lead. It was mainly just to try and just get back up to as far high as I could and pray there was some sort of safety car or something. So, I was a bit clumsy around Sam, unfortunately. I rear-ended him down at the hairpin, so I have to apologise for that. and yeah, I just really struggled on the primary tyres. And then we had an incident on the main straight, myself and Sam, and again I just have to apologise. I wasn't trying to block him. I pulled over to the inside to defend down into turn 1, and he just pulled over exactly the same time. And then he went even more to the inside, so I thought, well, I'll just give him the inside and I'll pull back onto the racing line. And at that exact moment, he pulled across as well, and it just looked really bad. Yeah, I don't want to race dirty, so yeah, I apologise for that one. It wasn't meant to be, but yeah, after that, it was just trying to, on the primaries, somehow it did seem like me and Matt were gaining on Alex, and then somehow, yeah, the pit stops just seemed to gain so much time on Alex, and I think he was telling us that he's had a bit of struggling with wheel spin on the pit exit. So yeah, again, just a bit of luck, and I managed to get the move done in the pit lane, which makes it a lot less stressful. So yeah, it was a bit of a roller coaster again. I quite want just a clean road race, but I'm not getting one at the minute.
Well, maybe next time. But actually talk about those 2 other incidents. I don't think I actually caught them on the stream, so if we didn't...
Oh, I shouldn't have said anything.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have said anything then.
I mean, to be fair, there were some technical difficulties, so I really don't blame myself for missing them, but oh well. Anyways, so next week going into Indy, I believe you're going to have about a 20-point lead in the championship, because David Saranzo didn't really have the best of races, and your teammate Matthew finished in 3rd position, so you're going to pull out in front of those 2 a little bit going into the next race. Of course, I know that ovals aren't really your thing. You're getting used to them and improving on them, but any hopes for Indy? Maybe a top 3, maybe a win?
Yeah, I'm gonna need the Hail Mary of miracles to get a win at Indianapolis with the talent we've got at ovals in this league. But no, I'm looking forward to it. I really do enjoy the ovals these days, and if I can get a top 10, honestly, I'll be happy with that. And just to have another clean race like we had at Iowa last week, that would be good. And I just want to say a big thanks to everyone that turned out tonight. We had quite a few new members, Alex included, and it's a really, really strong league now. And if people weren't taking it seriously before, in terms of the talent we've got, I think they should look now. So it's really good for us Europeans who want a good time slot that's convenient for us to fight in. And yeah, hopefully everyone keeps turning up.
Well, if you want to get better on the ovals, I'm sure that Matthew agreed with this as well. You can always practice on project cars too, right? So.
Oh, don't worry, I'll be loading up the ice at Indianapolis straight after this. Project cars, the perfect simulator.
About, yes. Perfect. All right. Well, I mean, you kind of did it right there already, but feel free to send out your shout-outs to the big man.
Yeah. No, yeah. I just want to say thanks to everyone who showed up, and to yourself as well, Julian. You do a great job, and I know it must be tough on your own there. So thanks for doing everything you do, and everyone else with the league. Yeah, it's just great fun.
I agree, and thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yes, it isn't always easy, but I'm trying my best. So glad you guys like it. But anyways, that's gonna wrap it up. Will, congratulations, and also to Alex and Matthew on the podiums. We will be back next week for the Indianapolis 250. So want to thank Vopsy, iRacing Paints, and Majors Garage for sponsoring the Prime Meridian Racing League. Want to thank Jessica Saban for allowing me to broadcast her league. So thank you again. Also, all the viewers in chat. Of course, really appreciate you all tuning in to the broadcast. It's not always smooth, just like at the start of the broadcast. Once again, my apologies. Gonna try and work some more to improve it for next week. So please bear with me on that. But I'm trying, so hopefully next week will be a little bit better.